So hopefully you are familiar with the idea of user error. User error is, just when there's something that is experienced as like a bug in a system, but it's actually just because someone doesn't know how to use it. And there's this interesting thing where user error actually sometimes is a design flaw. Like if you have a persistent user error that spans, whole populations, then it's probably because an interface was designed poorly, even if not the core mechanic. Even if the core mechanic is designed well, the interface can be designed poorly, facilitating user error. Bunch of technical stuff about technical stuff, right? Sometimes user error is moral in its nature, and this is the thing that I think often gets overlooked when we're talking about technology, or just doesn't get framed in a detailed way that we can then reason about and make improvements based on. I'm going to give you an example. I guess a couple of weeks ago, I heard about it. I didn't experience any of this, but a guy that I work with told me about it because it's just on a different side of the internet from me. But there was this like Studio Ghibli AI fiasco. The copyright infringement protections on Midjourney, or one of the image generation AIs, got worked around or lapsed for some period of time, and people generated a bunch of stuff that looked like it came from Studio Ghibli. So one of the questions that people were positing was, if AI can now make images that reasonably match, one of the most acclaimed animation studios on the planet, like, are people going to have jobs? Not being imitatable was not a virtue of Studio Ghibli. Still is not a virtue of Studio Ghibli. Hayao Miyazaki stopped progressing as an artist, or stopped changing as an artist, decades ago, so that he could have a full studio of people who could learn to draw exactly like him. If you look at the storyboards for any Hayao Miyazaki film, like, they look exactly like the movie. He's got a whole staff of artists who have trained, potentially for some of them, for their entire life to draw exactly like Hayao Miyazaki, which means that Hayao Miyazaki can't start drawing any differently, because it would wreck the whole business. The whole, not the whole point of, but a critical aspect of Studio Ghibli's work is that it has a very specific look, and it's done a very specific way so that it can be copied. It's a critical aspect of how the company runs. So this whole idea of just if this can be copied, does it have any value at all? It's misses the point of how animation works. Second, the art style, which I love the way Studio Ghibli films look. I think it's a nice look, but that has never been the value. And we can see this with there was a handmade copycat Studio Ghibli film, and if you watch it, it's very obvious that they were trying to make a movie that was like Studio Ghibli, but it just isn't good. It's not written very well. It's not especially bad, but if you're watching it thinking that you might be seeing something on the scale of Studio Ghibli, it kind of just feels like a mid-level Disney film. It's just this fairly pointless drama with kind of flat dialogue, and the characters are very cartoonishly, superficially archetypal. It's nothing like a Studio Ghibli film, right? Because all of those things take enormous insight into humanity and the world, right? That's the actual value of Studio Ghibli. We have this interesting phenomenon where, I would say that a lot of people who were just, ripping off, ripping off is even, it's the wrong word, but making these Studio Ghibli look-alike images that, were very antithetical to the ethos of Studio Ghibli, and promoting them and sending them everywhere. We're being reckless and childish and juvenile. I think that sometimes we should just be embarrassed about culturally all the dumb shit we do on the internet, because it's just embarrassing, but it's not I don't think it's going to hurt Studio Ghibli, and I also don't think it's necessarily wrong to just kind of think maybe I'll generate a Studio Ghibli image of myself just because it'll be cute. It's not hurting Hayao Miyazaki, not at all, and it's not, the intentions there are not malicious, it's not like it's not a socially destructive thing in and of itself. Are there things people are doing with AI that are very socially destructive? Absolutely. Are there businesses that are, working on AI and advancing AI that have no pro-social, no beneficent aims in mind? Absolutely. Is the technology itself immoral and wrong? Like, it's a stupid question. We have this tendency where we want to moralize material things, and it is just shirking our own responsibility. It doesn't matter if it's drugs or gold or guns or oil or wine or pork. Like, people want to attribute moral value to objects themselves, instead of behaviors, human behaviors and tendencies. You can do horrible things with pharmaceuticals, any pharmaceutical. You can do horrible things with cars. You can do horrible things with a pencil. The impetus is on the human behavior, and the moralizing of the resource is in all cases an attempt to get rid of our responsibility to be decent people. And so we need to look at moral user error as a phenomenon, which I would say is like, subtly distinct from other, or like a distinct lens on morality, because moral user error comes up when, and this is going to happen all the time, increasingly into the future, because we are generating new resources, new capacities, new things that we can do. And so we don't have the law of Moses on what to do with AI, right? We don't have like the Confucius, say don't steal Studio Ghibli. We don't have any of that. And so we have to recognize that we have just as much responsibility using resources that we don't have old codes and prior understanding of exactly what they're capable of. We still have the responsibility. We're still the people, and the people are always where the moral impetus rests. Cheers. Also, if you think that there are any jobs at Studio Ghibli that are in danger because of AI, like anybody that has control at Ghibli would lay somebody off to use a computer, then you don't know anything about Miyazaki or Studio Ghibli. That company is not going to be embracing, not these technologies. Other animation studios, yeah. So when Studio Ghibli got ripped off, that wasn't a threat to any jobs at Studio Ghibli, as long as people continue to enjoy those movies and they get distribution. They're going to be humans drawing those films. But other studios, yeah. Disney might lay off everybody. Pixar, I don't think so much. I think John Lasseter still has a little bit of pull, and I think that he's afraid of Miyazaki, and even the ghost of Miyazaki later on. Like, you would be too terrified to lay off a human in favor of a machine. I don't know if you've ever seen any interviews with Lasseter and witnessed Lasseter's respect for Miyazaki. I'm joking. I don't think Lasseter is afraid of Miyazaki in like that way. Animation studios, a lot of them have some pretty great people at the helms, and the animation studios that make movies that are worth enjoying, that are worth caring about, they're not going to lay off anybody in favor of AI. The animation studios that are turning out tons of crap, they're going to lay off everybody. But they're turning out crap in the first place. So this just kind of, choose your employers wisely. That's I guess all I have to say on that.